friends, welcome back to my channel. As many of you probably know, I've been in Bali for the last almost 4 months, and I thought it might be time to do like a little recap of my time here and a little review about Bali as one of the most hyped digital nomad destinations in the world so far. For everybody who doesn't know me, hi, my name is Amelie Zatzka. I'm a photographer and I've been working remotely for the last 1.5 years. I've already worked from Italy, France, Austria, South Africa, Spain, and now I am here in Indonesia, in Bali. And just to give you a little overview of my time here in Bali so far, so I've been in Changu for my first 1.5 months. Then in the time of September, I traveled around Bali a little bit to discover like different places. So I've been in Amet, I've been in Ubud, I've been on the Nusa Islands like Nusa Ceningan, Lemongan and Penida. And I just did a day trip to Uluwatu and like a couple of days on the Gili Islands. And now for the month of October, I'm back in Changu and I rented myself a little apartment and I'm gonna leave on Sunday, so within like 3 or 4 days. So just to let you know, my review will be mostly about Changu as like the digital nomad main town or city here in Bali, and also about like Kuta and Denpasar area as this is the area where I personally spent the most time in. When I arrived in Bali in the middle of July, I had already really high expectations as I heard a lot of good things about Bali, and I also of course saw all the reels, TikToks and videos about like these really awesome waterfalls and destinations in Bali. So I would say my bar was a little higher than for my other destinations I went to as a digital nomad so far. And I have to say there are a lot of pros obviously about Bali, but after like being here 4 months, I would say there are a lot of cons as well, and I just really wanted to summarize it as like a really information just for you guys if you ever consider coming here as a digital nomad. So one really obvious pro about Changu is that you have a lot of different co-working spaces here for different budgets, so you can actually choose whatever you prefer to, and they have really good internet. They have like all the things you need to work from if you work digitally on a computer. For me personally, I'm a creative person and there was not as many like creative co-working spaces, but there are a few. Also within these co-working spaces, there are usually a lot of events such as marketing workshops where you learn how to do like marketing for your company or your new startup or whatever you have. There are book clubs and a lot of stuff, and you can also join if you're not part of the co-working space, so it's often open for like everybody who wants to join, which is really amazing. If you want to mingle or find some friends or some like-minded people, there are WhatsApp groups. You can choose which WhatsApp group you want to join. So for example, there are groups for content creators, for solo travelers, for hikers, etc. So you can join whatever group you want to, and then there are events you can join and just meet new people. Another great thing about like the whole Changu, Kuta and Denpasar area is that there's a really good infrastructure regarding like transportation. So you can just order a Gojek or a Grab, which is like a scooter driver, and you can go anywhere almost like within this area without driving your own scooter if you feel uncomfortable driving a scooter, which is not possible in smaller cities such as Amet, where you need a scooter there. Also really obviously what you probably also saw is that there are a lot of really nice cute restaurants, cafes, bars and nightclubs here around Changu, so you can really go out, have fun, and you have a lot of options. Changu is located at the seaside, so you can go surfing. There are a lot of surf spots just at the beach of Changu, and a lot of like surf shops where you can rent your surfboards. And also there are a bunch of fitness centers and a lot of like sport activities such as boxing, kickboxing, and a lot of other stuff as well. With that being said, there are obviously a bunch of cons which I also wanted to mention. The first one is that I was very surprised that it is much more expensive to live here than I honestly expected. About accommodation, I think for the guest houses, the prices were raised a lot, especially after Corona. So I paid for my first guest house around 450, which is like on a lower edge, like that was really cheap, and we just got like a group discount because we were a bunch of people who booked it together. And for this apartment, I was also very, very lucky. You don't find an apartment like this and I pay around like 600 euros per month. But I heard about a lot of people who live in guest houses who pay around 600 euros per month for like just a really not really nice room, to be honest. So the prices are actually pretty similar than having a room in a flat in Europe, and I was very surprised about that. Regarding food, it is still a lot cheaper to eat out in restaurants than in Europe. So I would say for like the normal restaurants, it costs around like 4 to 7 euros. You can eat much cheaper if you go to local restaurants, warungs they are called. If you eat like traditional Indonesian food, which is also amazing, you can get food as cheap as like 2 euros or something. So it is fairly cheap to eat out. If you want to cook by yourself, which I personally really like, and I like to cook my own meal, it is fairly expensive to buy the ingredients in the supermarket. Like the supermarkets are really expensive, especially if you want to have like special Western food, as it's all imported, obviously. So cooking for yourself is mostly more expensive than going out and eating out, which is kind of a pity because I sometimes just enjoy to have like a calm, cozy evening and just cook for myself and watch a series. Regarding accommodation, I also had the issue that the main way how most people or most digital nomads live here is in a guest house, and the guest houses are nice for a period of time. It is mostly just like a hotel room, so you have your bed. But it is sometimes really badly equipped, I would say. You sometimes don't even have like a table within your room. You sometimes have really bad light in there. And for me, it just didn't feel at home at all. Like it felt like I was living in a hotel room all of the time. And it is okay for a certain amount of time, but for like 2 months, it was a little too much. I just needed to have like a little bit more personalized accommodation. This apartment here is much different because it is actually an apartment of people living here. So it feels much more home, and I feel really cozy and like I actually arrived somewhere here, which was not the feeling while I was staying in guest houses. One thing that I realized very quickly when I arrived in Changu is that I felt really disconnected from the whole Balinese culture. And after a while, I figured out why it is like that through conversations with people. So basically, the whole Changu area is, or like the Denpasar, Kuta area is super touristy. And most of the Balinese people who used to live in these villages moved away because of all of the tourism. So all of the people, or most of the Indonesian people you meet in Changu, are actually not from Bali. They came to work in Changu or in Bali from Java, from Jakarta, like from all of the other islands in Indonesia. And the thing is that all of the different islands have different cultures, and the Balinese culture is one of them, and it's very unique and special, and you don't really feel like it is here anymore. Like there's no much culture in Changu. So it's basically just like a big fun park for adults, I would say. One other thing that really keeps bothering me a lot, maybe you heard it already during this video, is the constant noise you have almost everywhere in Changu. So there are a lot of construction sites around Changu, so the chance that your accommodation is right next to a construction site is like 99%. And I never had any like accommodation without like having the noise of construction next to me. Also, there are roosters everywhere, which is kind of cool in some way, but kind of annoying as well, especially if they start screaming in the middle of the night and you wake up because of them. Just to let you know, so the noise is very heavy and constant, as a lot of the common areas are also open space, and you hear like the construction noise pretty much every day, all day. For me, it was kind of an issue with sleeping as well, because it is so noisy. I personally do have a really good sleep, like I usually sleep like this, but in the last 3 months I have the feeling I didn't really sleep well at all, and I constantly feel sleep deprived, which is kind of getting on my nerves, to be honest. The next cons is probably kind of controversial, and it obviously depends on you. But for me personally, it was kind of hard to find like-minded people here in Changu. I have the feeling like most of the people are really concentrated on their job and on their work, and they're trying to achieve something, which I found amazing. But coming with that is also a sense of competition and arrogance, and Also, I had the feeling that a lot of the people are not really interested in getting to know you as a person, but more like networking and finding like good business opportunities. So I personally found it a little difficult to find people I really resonate with and feel comfortable with and really also enjoy hanging out with without having to perform all of the time. So that was a big con for me, to be honest, and I didn't have that issue in any other destination I was so far. I really quickly found my group of people and it clicked right away, and here I just didn't feel like it clicked with the people. And the last thing is that all of the really cool, amazing landscapes and sceneries and waterfalls you see probably on social media, on reels and whatever, are usually very touristy. I personally didn't expect that. I thought that there are so many waterfalls, you for sure be like on your own at some of the waterfalls. But usually there are a lot of people, it's very crowded. You have to usually pay entry fee for the waterfalls. And if you want to experience it all on your own, you have to come very early in the morning. The same goes for like all the more famous or more beautiful beaches. They usually have like an entry fee, and it's kind of crowded at the beaches. For the lookouts, for example, at Nusa Penida, there's a really famous landscape lookout. You have to pay for that. So I didn't expected it to be as touristy as it is, and it was kind of disappointing for me because I thought there are for sure like some waterfalls where there's nobody and I just can go for a hike and just explore some secret waterfalls where there's no other person, but to be honest, I haven't found any things like that here yet, and yeah, it was kind of a pity for me. With that being said, I have to mention that it was a very different experience the second I stepped my foot out of Changu. I really loved Ubud, and if I would come back to Bali, I would probably stay in Ubud, despite the fact that it's not on the seaside. The Balinese culture is still a lot more present in Ubud. I had the feeling that the people were much more warm and happy to meet you and including, and it's much more creative. So there are different places in Bali where you can experience Bali much more in the more traditional way, how Bali probably was like 10 years ago. But I would say probably in the whole Denpasar, Kuta, Changu area, it's very touristy already. So I hope that wasn't too negative. It obviously depends on what kind of lifestyle you want to live as a digital nomad. If you just want to have a really convenient life where you have like all of the infrastructure, like the internet, the co-working spaces, the cafes, I think Changu is an amazing place to be. It's, as I said, like a fun park for adults. But if you want to, as me, also experience like the country you're living in and the culture and the people and have like honest connections with the people, I would not necessarily recommend Changu as a place to stay in. So that's it. That's my honest review, and do whatever you want with this information. I hope it was not too negative, as I said, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!